Just a round of minutes, please, Mr. Kerr.
Well, I feel the nature of this debate and the substance of the thing we're debating merits that I practice some energy conservation. So I will be making a very short set of remarks. I've often wondered, by the way, what it's like to be in attendance at an SNP conference. And now I know what it's like. It's dead boring, sleep-inducing. And it's a competition to see how often you can repeat the words independent Scotland. It's not very inspiring. I was very grateful to Neil Bibby for reminding me that the cost of the Minister's papers is over £2 million. That is extraordinary. What an extraordinary waste of taxpayer money. You know, if the SNP want to indulge in their fantasies by producing these white papers, they should be doing it at the expense of the SNP, not at the expense of the Scottish taxpayer. And it's about time that the SNP were stopped in their tracks from using government as a means of furthering their cause, which, frankly, is very much in the area of reserved powers. Neil Bibby can, the Minister can stand and holler and jibe all he likes. I mean, it's pretty childish behaviour. Pretty childish behaviour from someone who purports to be a minister, even if it's one of 30, none of whom seem to have any meaningful responsibilities to attend to this afternoon, judging. And the members who are here as well, my goodness me, this entire debate, to borrow a phrase from Neil Bibby, represents a gross dereliction of duty by the governing party of Scotland, because instead of debating Scotland's welfare system as it is today, or issues of how to genuinely abolish poverty, which I'm in favour of, we are instead relegated to listening to a bunch of half-baked bletherings by people who seem to spend most of their time fantasising about independence. And it's a sad spectacle, especially watching Kevin Stewart. It's a very sad spectacle, because they all know in their heart of hearts it isn't happening and will never happen. The people of Scotland have given their judgment. 10 years ago this year, we had a full-on debate, and the people voted decisively to remain part of the United Kingdom. And we respect the result of that referendum, as we do all of the referendums that have been held in this country. The truth of the matter is, Deputy Presiding Officer, that the way out of poverty, this is my view, is through productive employment. Through productive employment. Now, that's not only my view. Any time the Scottish Government produces any documentation about poverty, there is at least one line or paragraph in that document that relates this fundamental truth, that the way we will get rid of poverty in this country is through good work. But the SNP and the Scottish Greens represent a threat to the prosperity that we need in Scotland, to Scotland's businesses. And it's not me saying that. That is what Scotland's businesses are saying very loudly and clearly. And here's a fundamental economic fact of life. You cannot tax and spend your way to economic growth and the creation of new jobs. It just doesn't work. But the SNP refused to acknowledge the lessons of basic economics when it comes to economic growth. I am going to give way to John Mason.
John Mason?
Quite like John Mason. I'm going to give way to him.
John Mason?
Well, I thank him for giving way, but he talks about economic lessons. Now, would this be the UK government that has low tax and has led us into recession? No growth. Where's the lesson in that?
Stephen Kerr?
Well, the whole lesson, I'm afraid, is exactly the lesson I'm giving John Mason. That it is an economic fact of life that you can't tax your way to economic growth. You can't borrow and spend your way to economic growth. There are some hard facts of economic life that all governments eventually have to face up to, regardless of their party colour. But by helping people get the skills, healthcare and transport they need to be able to access employment, we help them get out of poverty. And that is why I was very pleased to hear Willie Rennie say what he said, because I concur with his fundamental observation. Boasting about the size of a welfare budget is really not much of a boast at all. Where the boasting comes in is when we are seeing that budget come down because more and more people don't need to use the safety net. that we all believe in this Parliament and on every side of this Parliament. It's always been my view that there should be a robust and sensible safety net that helps and supports people who need that support to get into work, and indeed to support that small number of people for whom we have a special responsibility, those who will never be able to access employment. The proposed budget for next year's Social Security bill is £6.3 million. That's £3.8 billion. That's £3.88 billion more than 2017-18. And I repeat, this welfare budget does not tackle poverty. It leaves people actually sitting in a trap they can only get out of by accessing healthcare and skills training to get into productive and good jobs that are created by Scotland's businesses. And, and isn't it ironic, then, that skills, training, further education, higher education, the very things that become the golden ticket to get out of a poverty trap, are the very things that the SNP choose as a political priority to cut. So where is their genuine and sincere interest? And I've sat all afternoon listening to Jamie Hepburn accuse us all of not caring. That's all I've heard him say. Well, we care. We care enough to deliver sustainable and workable solutions to the issues that are connected with poverty and that leave people in need of social security. So I'm going to conclude by saying very firmly that this whole debate has been bogus today. It's been bogus on the basis that this has been about as relatable to football as fantasy football is to football. This has been a fantasy political debate about something that doesn't exist and will never exist, and the ministers in the front bench, they know that. But they're wasting the public's time. They're wasting the time of this Parliament. They're wasting the taxpayers' money by indulging these fantasies at their expense. Now, all they care about, presiding officer, deputy presiding officer, is independence. They may feign a passing interest in the alleviation of poverty, but for them, and the speeches we have heard today show it undeniably, independence is more important to them than anything else. It trumps any other concern. And it's not about delivering real opportunities for the people of Scotland, because that is the furthest thing from their concern. That's the furthest thing from any kind of priority they would have, because they exist. The only thing that unites them, that keeps them together, is the desire to break up the United Kingdom and impoverish Scotland outside of the United Kingdom. So we will focus instead on delivering real opportunities for the people of Scotland. Let's not waste any more of our precious time on this pointless debate.